Hello there, and welcome to my channel. I'm Chase Moser, and this is Moser Movie Reviews. Today I am finally going over Tremors, A Cold Day in Hell. Now, this is a really fun installment for me because how cool would it be to think about the Tremors series going to the Arctic? Well, they do, and I think they happen to pull it off quite well. Now, there was a part of this that I really didn't know for a long while, but it was actually supposed to be filmed in a really snowy place, but there was a blizzard going on, so they had to substitute and go to a different place and just kind of like, you know, substitute the snow and CGI and it's really funny though how it kind of looks that way, but it also kind of doesn't if you suspend your belief enough. We get Burt Gummer and his son back, and I think that their dynamic duo is a lot better in this one. Travis is a lot less crude, and Burt is in this white camo outfit that I obviously love. It changes the franchise, it changes the flavor, and I definitely love that. I have no idea where it stands in my ranking, but they've got the ass blasters and the graboids and everything that you could love. And they are still holding off on the shriekers with this one, but with all of that being said, let's get right into Tremors, A Cold Day in Hell. We start this movie off with a kill scene in the middle of the Canadian Arctic where these scientists who are digging, very similar how like in there in the first one, stumble upon these creatures. Now, of course, it makes sense that they'd be able to move through the snow just like how they would be able to move through the dirt. And it's really cool to think about how they might be the first incarnation of this species. I think it's very interesting to be able to take it to this sort of a place, you know, when you think about how, you know, number 5 is in South Africa, and then now this one is in Canada. That's 2 different places we've never been before with 2 different polar opposite temperature zones. And I really love that. It's something that you can really appreciate for this franchise. And if you think about it, it's never been done before in so many series this far in down the line. It's like, might as well change something up and do something we've never done. I'm tired of kind of seeing it in the desert, aren't you? So it's really fun to think about where they could be, and it just adds to the lore. And anytime that you can make your story bigger and add to the value of information that's going on, I totally think that that's a win, so you should go for it every time. Having Val and Rhonda's daughter be in this is really awesome. I think that's cool. It also kind of feels a little bit like they're trying to call back a nostalgia, but it is interesting to see her be there, and she ends up being a really interesting character. I find her fun to watch, and she pulls off a lot of tactics that make her fit into the story, into the environment, and into the zone that everyone else is. There's a certain energy that's being carried, and she totally follows up with all of that. I think that she's really fun, and if you're playing Kevin Bacon's daughter, she certainly looks like she resembles a tiny bit of that part, and you gotta be able to be a badass character, and I think that she pulls that off. I love seeing Walter Chang's market, and this is the last time we ever get to see it in the franchise, but it is so perfect that Burt is running it, and it's such a staple of the franchise all of these years later, and to see it lasting for so long, especially after my childhood and everything that I've gone through. I can't believe they've made these new movies. I was really happy to be able to experience these, and I watched them all with my grandpa. It gave me new moments with him, new memories and new stories to be able to tell over a long period of time and a lifespan, you know? We grew up watching the original ones, and then when we were watching these new ones, it gives me, you know, new things to talk about with him and, you know, more Burt content, and that's something that we both love, and I think that's what this entire franchise is built on, is the Burt content. He literally has his one-liners, his isms, everything about him is really fun and so watchable. You can really just take in this character, and to be able to last this long and take over a franchise and hold it up really is a testament to the writing, and more importantly the acting of it and the actor, and just like the franchise itself and all of the fans that really want to see this person perform. Getting into Canada, obviously there are some sketchy things going on with like the ass blasters in the air, and I immediately love the pilot lady because it's a callback to the pilot guy from Africa, but then this girl is just so fucking awesome too, and she's her own flavor, and I kind of prefer her over the other guy. There's a lot of parts that I prefer over this than number 5, but then recently watching, I kind of feel like number 5 has been the better one for me, just because of like how it introduces this new series of monsters, but then this one is so fun and I love every single character in this one, so it's like I don't know how to pick them. And just the way that they are set up in the Arctic, and there's this DARPA company, and if you've seen the TV series and you know that there's this been monster after monster and theory after theory and government agent after government agent trying to hound Burt, getting him to do all of these things that we know him for and love him for. And of course it just ties together so well. And when you're number 6 into a franchise, I think it's really cool to think about this being like, you know, the third one in, you know, 4, 5, 6. So it's banking off of number 3 a little bit. We get flashbacks of him being swallowed. I love seeing footage of the old movies. It really ties the story in. It makes it feel like one integral moment and timeline. And it has consequences. And it's really fun to be able to see them battling all of these different elements in the snow and figuring out different information and adding to the lore. Like I said, it's kind of copying parts 2 and 3 a little bit, where they have a lot of ass blasters from the third one, but they're copying parts 2 a little bit, where they're having this like researcher center, and it's kind of cool that there's all of these different scientists there and they're being picked off one by one. I appreciate the ass blasters. We get to see a lot of the monsters in this one, way more than we do in number 5, and I always loved the ass blasters in the original trilogy and franchise. So to be able to see them in this one is really fun. I'm glad they're heavily featured. At first, I did not like the design of them. I've since, however, come around to them, and I'm still learning to be able to love to appreciate them even more still, but I think they're awesome. And so that's definitely one of the scariest creatures, and of course you would highlight that in your film, and that makes sense here. And seeing Burt be able to deal with them is so fun because he has all of the tactics and the smarts to be able to get out of these situations, but they still throw him curveballs, and that's why you like watching this ongoing battle, because it is really, you know, heart racing, and it's integral to stress of the moment. Like you want to have your payoff, and Burt is always able to make sure that you get what, you know, you get your bang for your buck. There are so many kills at this point, and we are starting to learn that Burt is becoming sick from this parasite that has been nesting inside of him ever since he's been swallowed by that Graboid in chapter 3. So to have that come back into play all these years later is what I'm talking about with the consequence. And then being able to have him with Travis have this relationship built off of number 5. They're already in it deeper, and their connection is a lot better. His character is a lot less sleazy, and he's giving a performance that I care for more about in this one. It does feel like a little bit of a rehashing of number 5, so they kind of feel like they go hand in hand, but then so does the one after this. They really all kind of feel like they belong with each other, and I think all of them are necessary. But during this one, it's not a filler for me, and you do feel like there is this dire consequence of Burt being able to go under due to this illness. We also get this kill of like Graboids being in water, which is really, really awesome. There was supposed to be that in number 5, but there was like a deleted scene or whatever. It's fun to finally see that come true, and it was really scary, you know, having all of these different scenes that we've never seen in the franchise before, and all of the different practical effects that we could get into it as much as possible. There was a little bit in 5 with like the feet and everything, but now we have, you know, some of the ass blasters and some of the, you know, under the ground stuff and the shaking of the sets. And whenever we have comes what's closer to the end, but we have like a real Graboid at that point, I think that it's really scary whenever it's coming closer to being able to get the whatever it is called, like the juices or the liquid or like the DNA that they need from the Graboid, which becomes a plot point in this finale, but also is that the people that Burt was suspicious of this entire time is obviously on the wrong side, and they're doing the bad thing, and they want to be able to obtain this species to sell them and do all of their bioengineering with, and it's not smart at all. And obviously everyone is running around saying like, have you never learned from these lessons? And while Burt is increasingly getting more sick, they come up with a plan to electrify this hangar, and it has so many fun sequences and killings of the Graboids. I like seeing the creatures. I think the CGI is pretty good for what it is in these movies, and they also look really scary and interesting. I love how the flight pilot person is brought back into the story, and she makes her a great, interesting character, fun for Burt to interact with, and when they're coming up with the plan at the end, it is all coming together so well, and it is the story of being able to sacrifice your strength and your heart and keep these creatures under control. You know, they're obviously a plague and they're terrifying, and you would never want to be able to have them run amok on Earth because they would take over and then humankind would cease to exist. So it's do or die in these moments, and they obviously have to do what is best, and they know what's best even though it's dangerous. And I love this part here where they end up fishing and hooking and catching the Graboid inside of this like metal container. That was so interesting and cool, and we've never really seen that before. We get to see this huge worm, and it's, you know, shown from all of these aspects, which is really fun, something they actually couldn't do with a lot of the practical things. So there's times when I like CGI, but then we also have this moment here that is one of my favorites where we get the mouth of the Graboid and practical effects and these, you know, slug mouthed worm things and the tentacles. It's so perfect mix of a combination of fighting and practical effects and fun, and Jamie Kennedy climbing in the mouth of a Graboid. What more could you want out of that? They obviously do the goo really well, and the explosions and the kills and the Graboid orangeness so perfect. I like whenever Burt is getting better at the end, and at first it seems like he's kind of dead, and you feel this kind of remorse and the sadness because it's like, wow, it really is dwindling down. This could be the end of a franchise. And then he ends up living, and they're like, you never die. How is it that you never die? And you're like, yeah, because he's Burt. And that's so perfect. So that's definitely a feel-good movie. It's one of my favorite aspects about this part is the way that it ends and the way that everything wraps up, and that they are able to come to a conclusion that is satisfactory on a happy note. They extinguish all of the threats, like they get rid of all of the Asposters, all of the Graboids. They blow them up, and they get everything that they need, and all of the storylines are wrapped up. And of course, that's what a movie is supposed to do. It tells a start, a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's everything. And it's been doing it so well for so many times. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But you can also elevate it and change it to keep it interesting and fresh. And I definitely think they did that. I don't mind if they had to improvise whenever it came to the snow aspect. I think they did a very good job, and all sets on movies are fake, and everything is filmed differently, and everything that has ever been captured on camera is technically fake, you know, but for the characters and in their world, that's really what they're going through, so I take it for what it is. It's no different than Star Wars or Guardians of the Galaxy. Those are just cardboard sets and woods and plastic and polyester and all of that stuff, but whenever you're watching it edited in the final film, it really looks like all of those things and the spaceships and the worlds, doesn't it? So you take it for what it is, and you live in their world, and that's where they are. And being in Canada was really cool, and all of the plot points made sense for me, and I was really happy to see Burt again, and he loves his guns, and I love Burt, and it was a great way to be able to have another entry in this franchise and expand it. And I'm never going to complain about however many installments there are, because the more there are, it just makes it feel like there really is something there to hold for me. It's like, it really says something about how it's lasted amongst the test of time. There are some moments whenever I wish we could have been able to see the Graboid a little bit more, but also on the other hand, they did a lot of good callbacks to the original, where they have the hump coming up under the boards of the walkway, or whenever Burt is like, you broke into the wrong goddamn hangar, didn't you? And so I definitely think this one is a lot of fun, and it holds its place. It's definitely one where I think they could have benefited from having shriekers. I definitely think the fifth one could have benefited from that as well, but that's just personally because I like them, so I definitely love the entry that's after this one. With everything wrapped up and everything in a happy end, nothing more to say than I loved being able to go over this movie, and I can't believe I'm this far into the franchise. I'm so happy to be able to go over the next one. That's definitely one of my favorites. I never want to let these movies go, and I'm so glad to be able to keep them on repeat. Let me know whatever you think down in the comments. This movie did not work for everybody, but some people really love it, some people hate it, but I feel like that's so many movies, so I never know how it goes. I most of the time just enjoy my life with what I watch. So let me know down in the comments what you like about them in the snow aspect. Could you see them doing more movies in the snow? Could you see other things going on with this? Could you see them expanding into other parts of the globe? I think that it makes a lot of sense to be able to put them in different environments. Why not be able to check out that different, danger and suspense? So yes, like I said, let me know all that down in the comments below, and check out some of my other, videos. I've done a bunch of different genres. I've done a bunch of different, location visits, things like that. Sometimes I live stream. I've also set up a community tab page on my YouTube, or I've recently just set up a Patreon where you can get like exclusive videos or behind the scenes content or early access to some of the videos that I post here. There's going to be some things that I post there that I won't be posting on YouTube, so if ever you want to check that out, I'll have that in some of my descriptions. And with all of that, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.